Welcome back to Mysteries, a series where I cover different mysterious cases around the globe. Tonight, we delve into the history of witchcraft and modern-day Satanism. This is intended for mature audiences with an open mind. Witches have been a prominent antagonist in many movies, fairy tales, and horror stories for hundreds of years, be it Salem in the 1600s or the modern day. Witches have roamed the world right underneath our noses. Tonight, we cover all aspects of witchcraft throughout the world. I'm Obscure Domain, and this is Mysteries Episode 2, The Witch. Most of you are probably coming into this expecting to hear about long-nosed green hags riding around on broomsticks, but you would be very mistaken. A vast majority of the witches you will encounter simply use the potions and incantations you hear about for reasons such as medicinal purposes or healing. Witches come in many different forms, be it a witch doctor in New Orleans or a solitary witch practicing out of their home. Solitary witches are exactly what they sound like. A sole witch practicing the arts alone, without a coven. The altar is their home. Now, we move into some different cultural practices. Our first stop tonight will be Kenya. Not many people realize that witchcraft is rather prominent here. Visit the country and you will find signs written in Swahili advertising the services of witch doctors. Christians within the country will usually call out juju, meaning black magic if an odd event or happening takes place. There is a strong belief in the dark arts here. Some of these happenings include an unfaithful woman and her temporary lover becoming stuck until her husband arrived and somehow freed them. Kenyans also believe in Nairobi girls who are able to use this form of witchcraft to secure a man. Kenya obviously has a strong presence of this culture, but not near as much as our next stop. Here we are, New Orleans, Louisiana. Now, we're going to go back in time a little bit to 1819. Marie Laveau, one of the most renowned voodoo users in New Orleans. Marie was believed to travel the streets like she owned them, said a New Orleans boy who attended one of her events. Now, we have information and witnesses who claim her career was in voodoo, but the only official evidence of any sort of occupation is a liquor importer in 1862 on Delphine Street. Despite this, many people claim Laveau was a very powerful practitioner of voodoo, able to obtain insane power through dark magic. This includes immortality. I spoke about how witchcraft is not evil like everyone believes, but that does not mean that there are not evil witches that walk this earth or have previously. Now, we move into the darker side of things. Marie Delphine Lalaurie. On the outside, this woman was a prominent member of the society, hosting massive parties in her mansion and walking the streets in extremely fashionable clothes, but in private, she was, by all accounts, one of the most evil women to walk this globe. Behind the walls those party guests were confided in was a massive torture chamber full of body parts, dead slaves, and living slaves, mutilated to a point you cannot fathom. One night, Lalaurie chained a slave to the oven, eventually lighting herself on fire to avoid facing the same fate as the other slaves. The house eventually caught fire. Firemen discovered the mess and began retreating from the home, vomiting, the remaining slaves begging to be killed. As I said, Marie Delphine Lalaurie is to go down in history as evil in its purest form. Our next destination is most likely one you've been waiting for and the first name that came to your head when you read the title of this video. Welcome to Salem, Massachusetts. the most infamous location in the world of the dark arts and witchcraft. 1692 to 1693, this town held some of the most brutal executions and hearings of accused witches, most of which were just simple women who were merely victims of crazed religious folk and Bible thumping. To get an idea of the severity of these prosecutions, 20 people were executed, 14 of them women and all but one by hanging, 5 others dying in prison, including 2 infant children. So ask yourself, who was the bad guy? This is by far one of the biggest cases of mass hysteria in all of America's history. Most of the women executed were innocent, while the real witches roamed the neighboring woods and congregated in isolation. Let's hope something like this never happens again. Now our final destination is Hungary. Before I continue, I must state that this woman was mainly known as a vampire, but I am going to go ahead and include her. Elizabeth Bathory, or as you may know her, the Blood Countess. Before her capture in 1609, Elizabeth Bathory killed over 650 people. Bathory's torture included jamming pins and needles under the fingernails of her servant girls and tying them down, smearing them with honey and leaving them to be attacked by bees and ants. Some of her most disgusting acts include biting the flesh from her victims, forcing a servant to cook and consume her own flesh, and bathing in the blood of her victims as she believed it would keep her looking young and healthy. In 1610, King Matthias finally intervened and she was sent to prison, dying 3 years later. Now we've covered witches, and even one who is considered to be the first vampire countess in Hungary, but now we move into a world you know so many stereotypes about, but everything you once knew about this belief system is going to be changed tonight.
There was a large gray area between psychiatry and religion that was untapped, and no religion had ever been based on man's carnal needs or his fleshly pursuits. All religions are based on abstinence rather than indulgence, and all religions therefore have to be based on fear. Well, we don't feel that fear is necessary to base a religion.
When you hear the word Satanism, I'm sure you instantly think of a cloaked man performing some sick sacrifice before a giant statue of a goat man, but you would be very wrong in that thought. Most Satanists you will find today believe in an ideology known as Lavean Satanism, founded by a Mr. Anton Lavey many years ago. It does not teach you to burn churches, sacrifice children, or even goats. It merely states you need to believe in yourself and follow your own created path. If you need more explanation, here is a list of 11 rules you follow under this belief system. 1. Do not give opinions or advice unless you are asked. 2. Do not tell your troubles to others unless you are sure they want to hear them. 3. When in another's lair, show him respect, or else you do not go there. 4. If a guest in your lair annoys you, treat him cruelly and without mercy. 5. Do not make sexual advances unless you are given the mating signal. 6. Do not take that which does not belong to you unless it is a burden to the other person and he cries out to be relieved. 7. Acknowledge the power of magic if you have employed it successfully to obtain your desires. If you deny the power of magic after having called upon it with success, you will lose all you have obtained. 8. Do not complain about anything to which you need not subject yourself. 9. Do not harm children. 10. Do not kill non-human animals unless you are attacked or for your food. 11. When walking in open territory, bother no one. If someone bothers you, ask him to stop. If he does not, destroy him. As you can tell, for the most part, their rules make most of their stereotypes void, such as the harming of animals being banned along with the harming of children. This is just proof of the ignorance that runs rampant in our world today and the extreme hypocrisy that runs rampant in other religions. While the Satanists have a rule set against the abuse of children, the others seem to have a problem understanding that rule. I think you know who I'm talking about. So, I hope you left this video with more information than you did coming into it, and I also hope you left with an open mind. Thank you for watching, and until next time, this is Mysteries with Obscure Domain. Please do mention in the comments if there are any cases or topics you would like me to cover.